All right, Sam, what's the it's got to be hot out there right now, dude, because it's hot here. And I heard Tony was telling Gwen and Chris, or telling Chris and Scraby are going to be joining you guys at the end of the week, that this is a rough week for them to come out to visit.
Yeah, it is. I think I saw 106, 107 by the time we get to the weekend. So it is hot. It's already hot. I mean, just standing outside in the sun, you're sweating and you need the sunscreen, and it is not typical spring training weather. I think I've said this to you before, but it feels like the last few years out here, we've had the opposite, where there's been an early stretch where it's cold and you've got to wear your jacket and a beanie, and it's the total opposite. So it's been a very, very hot spring training now for, I would say, about like 2.5 weeks, and it's only getting hotter. So it's about time to get out of here in less than a week, just in time, with it warming up to, from what I saw, historic records. I mean, this seems, and I watched the news really briefly, like this is like historic for this time of year. So yeah, not great. 106, 107 in mid-March.
No, it's definitely not. It's very warm. I've never seen a March in San Diego, and I know you've been in Arizona, where we have had this many clear skies. I mean, it's usually cloudy and gloomy and rainy and not fun, but it's 91 degrees out here. So it's a little bit on the warmer side, which gets you hyped up for summer, obviously, which means Padres baseball is definitely in full force. Let's talk about starting pitching to kind of get things started. Walker Buehler yesterday, great results-wise. Again, not the dominant pitcher he used to be in terms of fastball and some of the power pitching, but it looks like he's really reinvented himself and is taking that with some pride about his changeup, his knuckle curve, the sweeper that's been so dominant. I mean, Walker Buehler has earned his way on this team by being a different version of himself, and their Padres are going to have to lean on that here in the first couple months of the season.
Well, I think a few thoughts on him. Number one, you're exactly right. This is sort of the reinvention of Walker Buehler that we're seeing. Now, the major question is going to be, can that new version get guys out consistently at the major league level? And I think we're going to find out, and I think we're going to find out in a Padres uniform, because it certainly seems to be trending that way. But I think the biggest thing for Walker, beyond even working with Ruben Niebla and this pitching group that has done so many great things for guys kind of like him in a position where they're trying to hit a next level. And obviously Buehler's situation is a little bit different because he had so much early success and he threw so hard. But even beyond that, I think the most important thing, Braden, is that he's healthy. I mean, his elbow is allowing him to do things and pitch in ways that he has simply not been able to do in the last couple of years after that second Tommy John surgery. And it's not like he's out there throwing 89 miles per hour. I mean, his fastball's still at 93, 94. He has a lot of different weapons that he can go to. He's got some new things that he's incorporating, as you alluded to. And I just am intrigued by the idea of a guy who has had a lot of success in the past, is sort of reinventing himself. The idea that that guy maybe is entering the second half, or at least a new chapter of his career, and can be successful. Not that he's going to go win a Cy Young this year. I don't think anybody's saying that, but can this guy be a solid back end starter for you? I do think it's possible, and I'm encouraged by his health, what he said, the process this spring, the idea that he's working with such an elite pitching group in Ruben Niebla, Ben Fritz, and their staff. I just think it's a very, very intriguing storyline. And you know what? The results in the Cactus League have been pretty good, including yesterday. He's a guy, interestingly, and he talked about it yesterday, that coming out of high school and even when he was pitching at Vanderbilt, he was not always this high-octane guy. I mean, he was a little bit more based on pitchability, and it almost seems like he's reverting back to a version of his younger self, even before he was an LA Dodger. So, again, just count me in on somebody who is intriguing, has had success, and I think with the right expectations is somebody that could really play a pretty interesting role on this team in 2026. And he's had a good spring, and I think certainly has played himself into the starting rotation, especially obviously with the loss of Joe here at the start of the year.
Yeah, with the loss of Joe at the start of this year, obviously that was the big news yesterday. Things were kind of trending in that direction over the last week or so. I was not overly surprised when the news officially got reported and Craig Stammen had mentioned something. But that being said, there was still an open job for the 5 spot anyway. So now that opens up another spot. We think Walker Buehler took the 4, and now it's the battle for the 5th spot in the rotation. And right now, it's Germán Márquez, who is about to get ready to pitch here in Peoria in a game against the Mariners. It's a guy like Matt Waldron, who still might start on the injured list because he's got to get ramped back up again after missing some time in spring training. Tristan McKenzie, JP Sears, who's throwing on it in a minor league game today. I mean, to me, where everything stands, it's kind of Germán Márquez's job to lose, but he really needs to have a pretty good outing, I think, today to really solidify that spot.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail right in the head. I do think it's Germán Márquez's job to lose, but I think it would be nice for him to have a good outing today because the last one was not very good. He struggled to find it, did not have command. It has not been a great spring for him. Now, he's also a veteran. He's also had success. He's also on a major league deal. And if the situation at the start of the year is just, hey, here are 5 starters and that's how we're going to roll, then yes, I think the leaders in the clubhouse right now are Buehler and Márquez. I think the interesting part when you discuss Márquez in just the early part of the season with the rotation is with the off days built in, with the strength of this bullpen, and some of the personnel the Padres have, I think namely in a guy like a Kyle Hart, a guy like a Logan Gillespie, I do wonder if they will get more creative with that quote-unquote 5th spot in the rotation, at least until Joe comes back, than simply, adding a Germán Márquez and having him be the quote-unquote 5th starter. Because I do think there's a world where, hey, can you have an opener and have a guy like a Kyle Hart who's been really good this spring, have a guy like a Logan Gillespie who has been really good this spring aside from that last outing, which was not. But have those kinds of guys be bulk guys out of your bullpen, sort of piece it together for a little bit until hopefully Joe is ready to go. I do wonder if that'll be part of the equation, sort of leaning a little bit more into the depth of their pitching staff, their bullpen, rather than it just being Buehler and Márquez, and they're the 4 or 5 start of the year, and you see kind of how it shakes out. So I do think there's some optionality they have with the back end of the rotation, how they want to treat it at the very start of the year, considering the off days. Now, let's be clear, Braden, you're going to very quickly after a few weeks get to a part of the schedule where you're going to have 5 starting pitchers. So I'm not sitting here saying they're going to do this for weeks and weeks and weeks, but I do think at the very start of the year, could you see a little bit more creativity? Yeah. And I think the personnel would lend itself to that. So we'll see. It also could very well be it's Buehler and Márquez or Buehler and somebody else. Of course, the caveat with Márquez is that he's got to accept an assignment to the minor leagues if you don't put him on the roster. So we'll see. We've got a little time here to figure it out, but I'm generally with you that I do think today feels like kind of a big outing for Germán Márquez to show a little progress from what was not a very good start last time.
We're talking with Sam Levitt live in Peoria, Arizona, as the Padres are about to get underway against the Seattle Mariners. Going against Luis Castillo again. Last time that happened, the Padres put up a ton of runs against Luis. The wind was also blowing like 100 miles an hour out to the outfield, but that's new. Neither here nor there. I do want to ask you, Sam, about this. Now, what you brought up about the creativity Craig Stammen talked about, and then Kevin Acee wrote about it. And he wrote about a situation of like, oh, you maybe go 4 starters, and then they carry an extra bullpen piece, and then kind of exactly what you just talked about. And in part of that conversation was, and mentioned with Germán Márquez, you have to like convince him to be part of the minor leagues without him opting out to go somewhere else. But the other part in that article that I thought was interesting was maybe Tristan McKenzie starting in the minor leagues, which leads to maybe he wouldn't get picked up if he had to go through waivers or whatever it may be, which I find to be interesting because that's not something that I had accounted for. What do you know about Tristan McKenzie? I mean, at this point, I mean, is that somebody they think they can sneak through and be part of the depth and learn how to grow more in AAA as he tries to reinvent himself? Or is this a situation where he's pitched at least well enough to maybe sneak it through?
Yeah. I think with McKenzie, I know the Padres really like the stuff. They really like the velocity. He's had trouble throwing strikes, and it has sounded like they need him to find the zone more than he has so far this spring. I don't think he's going to break camp with the team. Never say never. But I do think they're very intrigued by him. And you understand it. I mean, he's throwing pretty hard. He's got good stuff. He's had trouble throwing strikes. He certainly has had success in the major leagues before. I mean, there was a time where he was looking like he was going to be one of the next big starting pitchers in this game. And unfortunately, it didn't really pan out like that, at least to this point. To be honest with you, Braden, I have to go back and look. I thought, and I could be wrong on this, don't quote me, I thought they can send him down. Maybe Kevin's reporting was different on that. Well, we'll have to revisit that, because I thought maybe that he's able to start in the minor leagues. But we'll revisit it. But assuming let's play in a world where he can, then to me it's a pretty easy scenario where, hey, you let him, pitch down at El Paso, and not a great place to pitch, obviously, but you let him pitch down there and kind of find his command. But I do think he's certainly somebody you could see at some point during the year, because they're very high on the stuff and the velocity. It's been the throwing strikes part and the find of the plate part that's been the issue for McKenzie.
I think he might qualify for service time where he can opt out. But don't quote me on that. I thought
I know Kevin had that whole article, and I gotta find that. I could have sworn, but I could be wrong about that. It wasn't.
And also, in both of our defenses, there's like 15 of these guys that have. Well, he can opt out for this, but he can't. Or minor league deal, non-minor league deal, out of options, has options. So I thought he was one of the guys that had to make the team to stay part of the organization, or he has the threat of leaving. The other one, too, is Matt Waldron, because he's out of options. I have a question for you on this, because this is just thinking out loud. Because, with Matt Waldron, like, is he a guy, like, this is just me thinking outside the box, of the sense of, could you potentially sneak him through waivers, because he's a knuckleball pitcher, and, he's coming off of, this medical issue, right? They got to get him ramped up. And with being a knuckleballer, isn't he more valuable to a team like the Padres that have had him throw to catchers that have to catch a knuckleballer more so than, like, if you're the Mariners, you're like, all right, well, we just picked up Matt Waldron. We think we can get the knuckleball working, but now we got to train this guy with a catcher, and our major league, like Cal Raleigh would have to learn how to catch a knuckleball. Sure. Like, does that lead to a situation where maybe he can sneak through waivers more than we think? Because the reason Waldron's on a major league team is because it's knuckleball. It's not because of his other stuff. Yeah. And you have to have a catcher be able to catch it. I mean, think about how hard it is for the Padres catchers to deal with the knuckleball. And now we're going to train our catchers in the middle, like, as the season starts, to get up to speed on a knuckleball. I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's an interesting point. Now, I will tell you, I think Matt and I think others would disagree with you that the knuckleball is the only reason that he's got a shot, because the view on Matt, I think his view of himself is that he is a pitcher that happens to have a knuckleball, a guy who can spot the fastball, who can throw a backdoor slider, with anybody. Like, what's been interesting for Waldron, this was pre-injury, was he was reverting back to being a pitcher with a knuckleball rather than a knuckleballer. And last year, it was much more a focus on him being a knuckleballer, getting it up to 60, 70%. And that clearly was not going to be the plan this year. They gave him a lot of commit with him out of options, kind of said, hey, you do what you want to do. However you feel like you're going to be most successful at getting guys out, you do what you want to do. So I think with Waldron, as far as the catching part of it, it's an interesting point, Braden. I will tell you, though, like, I remember there was a situation in 24, I think it was, where Gary Sanchez had never caught a knuckleball and had to catch Waldron that night for some reason. This was during the regular season. I cannot remember what game it was.
Was that down in Miami or something?
No, it was at home. And I talked to Gary right beforehand, right after BP, was like, have you ever caught a knuckleball? And he was like, nope, like, we're going to find out. So I don't know. I mean, I think you can kind of figure it out. I mean, I'm with you that, a team, especially a good team, may look at it and say, man, we don't have even anybody who can catch this guy. I get it. I would think, though, Braden, and his situation is going to be interesting because he's supposed to pitch today, at least for a little bit. Unclear of if he pitches in some Cactus League games, can you realistically then start him on the IL, which would kick the out of options can down the road? I'm not sure about that, but he is he is somebody who I think would intrigue a lot of teams because of the knuckleball. I think because of the other stuff, and I, could he sneak through because good teams don't have anybody to catch him? Sure, but like a subpar team, I just would that prevent you from picking up a guy on waivers that you think has some real potential? And I think Matt's shown that there is potential there of him being like a bona fide major league starting pitcher. So we'll see. It's an interesting question, but I don't know that it would preclude teams from necessarily picking him up. I feel like you can kind of figure it out.
Yeah, I find it interesting especially with like everybody's view on like knuckle. Nobody throws it. I mean, there's very, very limited players that throw a knuckleball, and whatever the Padres have to be creative with trying to keep as much depth as possible. So, obviously all the conversations are going to be about how many guys we can keep on this particular team.
Yeah. And by the way, I just got a text message. By the way, I do think you're right about McKenzie. So my apologies on that. I do think you're right that he'll have the ability to opt out at the end of spring training, but an opt out, I think it's important to note, an opt out, that means that you think there's another team out there willing to give you a roster spot. So, to be honest, if I were Tristan McKenzie, and based on the Padres' needs and like lack of, I guess, like other minor league depth from a starting pitching standpoint, like to me, he's probably one of the early guys that would get called up when you have a need. I would think there's a pretty good chance he would stay put. Don't quote me on that, obviously, but by the way, just so you know, I think you were initially correct that he can opt out.
Yeah, the opt-out thing, and you mentioned it's perfect. He has the choice. He didn't have to, right? So like it's not like a guarantee that he would, but it's one of those, it's not a for sure thing. Like JP Sears, he's part of the organization. He's not going to opt out. He's got options. They're going to opt him down to AAA potentially, right? He's going to be part of the organization. There's risk involved with trying to, get these guys through waivers or potentially have them go down to AAA and all that stuff. But I agree with you, Sam. Like a guy like Tristan McKenzie, if it becomes, you could pitch for the Cardinals who aren't expected to be good, or you can hang out a little bit and then you could be on a team that's competitive. It's an interesting conversation, but I know for a lot of these guys, service time is very valuable and being in the big leagues is very valuable. So it's definitely going to be interesting how they make a lot of these decisions. Last thing for you, because we're running out of time, let's talk about the position players. Again, as we've talked about in the show, Bryce Johnson has done an exceptional job in a Padres uniform. I think he brings a lot of versatility to this team with Sung-Moon Song, who is now getting some more activity back. It's the race between who's going to make this final roster spot. Ty France still continuing to hit. Jose Miranda feels comfortable here. He's been hitting really well. Bryce Johnson brings all the intangibles across the board. Sung-Moon Song's the guy you invested in. What's the latest update on the bench battle?
Yeah, I think let's start with Sung-Moon Song, because I think it starts there. He is continuing a hitting progression. From what I understand, started swinging in the last day or so. And here's the reality, Braden. It's opening day, a week from Thursday. I find it hard to believe that he's going to be ready to go for something that's been now a reoccurring issue. So I'm living in a world where there are essentially two bench spots with Song not ready. I think in a world where there are two bench spots, I don't see how Bryce Johnson doesn't make the team based on how he's played in spring, based on how they've used him in spring and the needs of this particular roster. And then you're laser focused on the other spot. And, I don't want to disrespect Mason McCoy, who's already on the 40-man and certainly might just get that spot. But I think Ty France and Jose Miranda have both shown enough and provide enough upside to where I would kind of be surprised at this point if one of those guys doesn't make it and take that Song spot. They've played well. They have versatility. They They've shown the ability to hit. I would be very laser focused on those two guys this week, Miranda and France, especially considering, Song to me is not going to be ready for opening day. So that's kind of how I would put it right now, that you're looking at probably Johnson and either France or Miranda. I could be wrong about that. Again, don't quote me on that. But that would seem very logical to me at this point with those two bench spots. And look, and France and Miranda have played well. I think they've played themselves into that conversation. And also, like, to me, Braden, there's a little track record there with both. Like, Miranda's had success. I mean, there was a time where Miranda looked like he was going to be part of the future with the Twins. Ty France has been around a while, can hit clearly, and can play some different positions as well. So that's how I would put it right now.
I think so too, Sam. We're on the same page with that as we get closer to opening day. 9 days out from meaningful baseball.
But even with the focus on France and Miranda, the only thing I would say is that you just never know. Like, meanwhile, Mason McCoy's been here and plays the infield and is on the 40 man already. Like, you never know. I just feel like likelihood you probably take a swing at a Miranda or France and see what you got in those guys based on some I think the offensive upside those guys can provide.
Yeah, especially, and the other thing too is France has been in a lot of these lineups that have guys that are going to be playing a lot of games. So
absolutely.
And he might have the nod over Miranda just based on the lineups they're throwing out there.
It's kind of amazing with France when you actually think about it. The guy had at bats in the World Series last year, won a Gold Glove last year, and had to take a minor league deal. It's kind of surprising. I understand it's been up and down for him offensively, but for a guy that can play a lot of positions and did that last year, like, I don't know. To me, he'd be very intriguing, but so would Miranda. Miranda's had a really nice spring. He's done a good job. So, those two guys I'd be laser focused on right now for sure.
Xander Bogaerts, Gavin Sheets leaving the building today. That's your update, Sam, for you.
They hit home runs already?
Yeah, they've already hit home runs. Germán Márquez gave up a home run to Luke Raley too. So the wind must be blowing out, Sam, because we got 3 home runs in an inning.
I'm not yet at the stadium, but I'll try to give you a win report when I get there.
Yeah, you're missing the home run derby.
I'll say here, I'm just looking on the backfield. It's not very windy today on the backfields, but that means nothing as far as the stadium. So
we'll keep you updated. We'll talk to you on Thursday. Thanks again for the update, Sam. Get out there. You're missing home run derby. I think they're throwing the gold ball next.
All right, guys. See ya.
Sam Levitt joining us from Peoria.